Whoa, my hairline looks really bizarre like this. Anyway, this is another episode of Jeremy Blabs. This time I'm going to talk to you about how I stole my own Game Boy. That may sound strange, and it is a little strange, I suppose, but I'm going to explain it to you. This here Game Boy that I got right here is the original Game Boy that I got back in the beginning of sixth grade, which was, let's see, 1993 when I was 11 years old. I got it just before sixth grade started, and how I got it before then, because school started like at the end of August in 1993. It always starts at the end of August where I grew up, and my birthday is in early August, so I had it for a few weeks just before school started. But before my birthday, like in the month or 2 months prior to August of 1993, is the real story of how this happened. Oh, and by the way, this Game Boy here still works. It's a little scratched up, it's a little dirty, it's seen some shit, but yeah, it still works quite nicely. Even the original Tetris is in it right now. The Tetris that came with the system, it was bundled with it back then because Tetris was such a worldwide phenomenon when the Game Boy came out. Well, I'll turn that off for now. Um, so how did I steal my own Game Boy? Well, the story starts. It might have been around like April or May. It was definitely earlier that year. One of my friends at school, she had gotten a Game Boy, and I got a chance to play it, and I thought it was damn near the best thing that ever happened. Yeah, even better than sliced bread. And so I knew that my birthday was coming up. Fast forward to June or July of 1993. I knew my birthday was coming up in August, and I knew where my parents hid the birthday and the Christmas gifts. It was only in one of a few different places in the house. And so one day when they weren't home, I guess they weren't home. Um, I don't actually remember, but I went exploring, and I found out where the Game Boy was. It was still in the shrink wrap. It hadn't been wrapped up or anything in the box and everything, and it was like hidden underneath like a chest of drawers or something. It was on the floor underneath something. So I found it down there, and I was like, holy shit, I'm gonna get this for my birthday. And then right there, I made a potentially fatal decision. I decided that I had to play this Game Boy. It was necessary to my existence. If I didn't play it, I might very well explode and leave a hideous stain on the carpet. And so, what I did is I removed the shrink wrap from the box, and then I very carefully took the Game Boy out of the packaging. And there was also a copy of Super Mario Land 2 uh, around underneath it as well. It wasn't included with the shrink wrap package, it was its own separate box. And I think that box is up there on the wall somewhere. But it was Super Mario Land 2 that really sold me on the system. It's the one that I had played from the friend that I previously mentioned, and that game was just the fucking tits. So I had to play it, and so I unwrapped both the Game Boy and Super Mario Land 2 and slid just the Game Boy and the Super Mario Land 2 cartridge out of their boxes and then carefully repacked them and put them back where they were. And then over the next several weeks, I hid the Game Boy and the game in my room and played it when I thought no one was going to barge in on me and find out my secret. And there was at least one time where um, I wasn't as careful about it, or like I had started playing it when nobody was home, and then they got home and I didn't notice, or it was something like that. Because at one point, my mom suddenly barged into my room, and I very quickly hid the. I was on my bed at the time. I was laying on my bed. I hid it underneath the blankets, and she looked at me kind of funny, and she knew I was hiding something, but she wasn't sure what. And so she left, thank God. But she started to suspect that I'd taken it. And so I guess she went and checked the actual Game Boy packaging that was now empty and found out that it had been opened, and she confronted me about it and said, "Do you have it?" and I flat out lied. I said, no, I don't have it. Although I don't remember how I phrased that or not. I might have been really smart about it and said, found what? Or have what? You know, playing stupid that I didn't know I was getting a Game Boy for my birthday and therefore I hadn't found it. See? Even back then I was very smart and devious. And then, so, of course, that pissed my mom off because she was almost sure that I had it. She just hadn't found it yet. And so I guess she wouldn't talk to my dad, and then my dad barged in. He was pissed. He yelled at me and said, "Do you have it?" I couldn't lie to my dad. I just couldn't. And I said, "Yes." And I guess I pulled it out and like gave it to him or something. And I don't really remember what happened past that point. I don't think I was like punished for it or grounded or anything would be the term for back in those days. Because when you're a kid, that's what happens. You get grounded. I got grounded more than a few times. But then after that, it still had a few weeks to go before it was my actual birthday. And so I whiled away those weeks without a Game Boy to play. And then my birthday came around, and we were still having my birthday. And so I had some friends over and, had the cake and the party and all that kind of fun stuff. And then I was unwrapping presents. And one of them that I unwrapped was a Game Boy carrying case. And so I unwrapped that and saw it, and I played dumb and said, "What's this for?" Because I know when my parents found out that I had the Game Boy and they took it back from me, they threatened to return it. And so I was sure that that was the end of it, that I'd blown it and they were going to take it back and then I'd never get one. And so my birthday came around, I unwrapped the carrying case, and so I said, "What's this for?" And I do specifically remember that I was playing dumb when I said that, so I guess at some point I had went back into their room and looked to see if the Game Boy was still there, and it must have still been there. So I was playing dumb and I said, "What's this for?" And I specifically remember my mom saying, "Maybe. Maybe." Just like that. And then it was later on in the party when my friends were distracted with other things. Things had kind of died down a bit. And then she actually gave me the Game Boy formally, and it was mine, and I got to have it. Along with several games, actually. Let's see. For some reason, I was really good at keeping my Game Boy game boxes. And so I have almost all of them still, and they're all up on the wall right there. So one of the games I got with it, I think, was Alleyway, and I got Kirby's Dream Land like a week or two later. Bonk's Adventure was that Christmas, as was Miner 2049er, and I also got Super Mario Land on my birthday, and Boggle Plus was one of the early games around that time frame, probably somewhere around Christmas that year too. And I think that's it. And so I had several games to start with, and of course I had Tetris, which came with it. And that's the story of how I stole my own Game Boy. Pretty solid system though overall. I mean, as you can see, it's kind of dirty on the back, like that right there, around the case right here. Because when you're holding it, this is where your fingers are, and so my fingers would get really sweaty, and then of course that would collect dirt and everything back on there, and that's never been cleaned off. So yeah, I got quite a few years out of this, and the labeling is a little on that corner. Yeah, this is mirrored, so this is kind of tricky. Right there, it's starting to peel off a little bit, but it's still on there. And that is still indeed the same Nintendo Service hotline for the United States. It still works. They're still using the same number. And yeah, a lot of good games on the system. Piss poor screen, obviously. Heavily ghosted, needs a ton of light just to see anything. But fun games, and that's what's important. So that's the end of the story, which means I guess that's the end of the video. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you sometime.